just seeing the Buddha, the baby Buddha, and realized that he would die before the Buddha attained, or before the Bodhisattva attained enlightenment, and then he left the palace in a rush, and I think he actually did die and go to heaven. So this section is started off with just a bit of it's called the argument, which is not written in the iambic pentameter, just gives a bit of the setting. So the Brahmins assemble to give the young prince a name. 8 of them, specialists in the interpretation of body signs, make predictions about his future career. 7 foreseeing 2 possible courses for him. The 8th, the boy Kondanya, only sees 1 course. Queen Maya, the Buddha's mother, dies and is reborn in the heaven of the delighted gods. And King Suddhodana, the Buddha's father, conceives a plan to deter his son from choosing the life of a religious ascetic. A way of putting it, unsatisfactory, but we must make the best of these refractory and double-natured creatures, word, compound, of air with notion, mental image with sound, fetch from the body's gleaming caverns and hard, vibrating gristle and bone, the out-breath jarred, to rich harmonics where it drags the reed of the mortal throat, and after all some seed of a world, a truth, a poem is involved in the layers of every note we utter, unsolved. Riddles of truth and poetry await the gentle army of 108 Brahmins who process on the 5th day to the palace gates, for all know it is they who now must balance the mysteries and proclaim, auspicious, confident, the new prince's name. Greeted with drums and flutes, they take their place, one by one in the council chamber, each face a phrase in the human lexicon of moods. From the wryly observant down to the one that broods, importantly on its learning, dusky bees, impelled to swarm for a few hours in these unaccustomed halls, and then, having conferred, part to disclose the honey of a word. And chief among them were the 7 who came to know the child more than to choose the name, to read the body's marks and so declare the implicit poem of life configured there, with all its colors, ambiguities, terror or brightness. And the first of these was Rama, gentlest scholar of the age, smiling and unremarkable, a sage, whose wisdom was unblemished, friendliness, and open minds allowed hearts to confess things secret even from themselves. With him came Dudja, like his opposite, a grim, ascetic figure taller than the rest, gaunt and deep-eyed, a face that seemed possessed of more insight than body could sustain, startling to onlookers, knowledge as pain, willingly suffered but unquenchable. Then Lakkhana the wizard, strangest of all, came hung with amulets, lined and tattooed, like a wizened tree steeped in the depths of the wood, talking with things not human for so long that the sigh of an unleafed branch or an insect's song brought messages from the corners of the world to his long-lobed ear. Beside him, matins purled. Rosary floated between the finger and thumb of a master of mantra to whom the Vedas would come, as living thought for utterance every word a realm of experience, vowel and consonant heard, as flute and drum of the gods, or the blood and bone of the human body, another's or his own. Suyama next, whose watchful eye could split the dying breath from the thought that follows it, knowing the maze behind the world's the room of countless doors between deathbed and womb, where half asleep, half waking, mind selects a life where past deeds ripen to effects. Subodha, master of eating, healer who worked through diet, cleansing the body of humors that lurked, hot, frigid, or tasteless in stomach or blood, cleansing the heart or the mind with the tincture of food, from herb, fruit, root, salt, giving delight or surprise, to the body's absorption, one who's experienced eyes, read physical form and complexion in a long look, and entering last of the seven, Sudatta took his seat and smiled to the boy Kundanya, who bowed and sat by his master's rug, modest and proud, to attend this penniless teacher who preferred, though noble, to live precariously as a bird, without a nest, having given away his own house, lands, and cattle throughout the kingdom known, as a teacher of giving, and in famine or feast, as the alms of the day decided had not ceased, to give time, learning, thought to all who would ask. But now, with suitable ceremonies, the task of interpretation and naming must begin. The king greets the assembly, the child is brought in. In the web of analysis spun with chanting of songs, reflection washed and brightened what belongs to the mind's surface is quietened, and thought settled, and means to the needed end are brought. Minutes or hours later, the king, from the rim of a huge dream mandala, falls awake. Before him stands Lakana. Will your majesty please to hear what must now be spoken? Suddhodana nods the fear, and excitement rippling within, but his face a serene mask relaxed and suitably kingly between speech and song, and as if reciting a tale from a very long distance, Lakana's old and frail but placid voice begins, and one by one each of the seven sets forth his conclusion. The prince's destiny is spoken by signs, born on his body. The forms, proportions, and lines tell of one who in previous lives prepared for birth at this time. No effort has he spared to perfect the virtues. He carries the 32 marks, of which most heroes bear one or two, mere sparks, which here unite in a blaze. For such a one, there are two paths, not one. Prepare your son. Will either be king of the world and rule as his own the sun-swept, ocean-rimmed earth, or reject the throne, go forth in rags a wandering hermit and find new happiness to nourish humankind, being a Buddha, an awakened one, by whose long light the coming age will run. So much for his fate. As for the choice of name, let it be Siddhartha, the one who achieves his aim. Speechless and moveless, Suddhodana sat transfixed, with delight and dismay turned to stone by mixed emotions, like one in a mountain dream who sees on every side treasures and precipices, and cannot take a step from the peak where he clings until he wakes to the comfort of usual things. But there was no waking. Lakana's voice began. So say the seven, but if you would entertain came. A different view, he caught Sudatta's eye, who nodded, suppressing a smile. The boy would try. His skill, though young, he has a certain gift. For his seeing Suddhodana dazed made the effort to shift his attention to where the boy Kondanya knelt. Shy and eager, their eyes met, and the king felt, in his extremity comforted, refreshed, and reassured by those dark eyes long lashed. As a calf's, and as gentle as if the boy might say, could only settle and heal, let him speak as he may. No oracle could be stranger than what we have heard. Two paths there are for such a one, no third. Kondanya sang, to judge by the outer signs, but subtler yet are truths beyond forms and lines. For him not two paths open here, but one. Barefoot he shall leave the carpet for ways untrodden. His feet the root of the world's primordial tree, richer than kings, the splendor of his poverty. Do what you like, he will reject the throne, go forth in the ascetic's robes, alone, and after untold hardships he will find new happiness to nourish every kind of being, a Buddha, an exalted one, by whose long light the coming age shall run. So much for his fate. As for the choice of name, let it be Siddhartha, the one who achieves his aim. Tears filled Suddhodana's eyes with more than love. He looked at his son in the nurse's arms, and above the confusions of his heart, friendship arose for the soft-spoken youth Kondanya, who outplayed those serious Brahmins at their own game, who there caught in the soft recesses of his heart a barb, as he thought. Abruptly of his dynasty ended the realm. Lawless the palace looted, his son at the helm of no world state, but a gaggle of priests like these, who dared affront him with two-faced prophecies. Respecting decorum, he bit back his anger and bowed correctly, then turned to leave the silent crowd of seers behind him. At the door a man knelt. Suddhodana paused stiffly, like one who felt his self-control shattering, but he waited to hear the message. O king, the queen is sick, and we fear. Her doctors are helpless for all they do and say. Moment by moment her life is ebbing away. I came reluctantly, your ministers would not have you disturbed, but the queen's sisters at last lost patience and sent me. They did right. Tired and burdened into the heavy night, Suddhodana stepped, and silently cursing all priests, doctors, and oracles, made for the woman's hall. A name is given, a name is emptied out. Maya's breath hovers between the worlds about. Her bed all day, the women have come and gone. The attendants, the doctors, she will answer to none. Lovely and absent as a girl in a dream, she drifts further, heart and senses seem already fixed elsewhere, and with the hours, breath and pulse grow fainter, a strange light flowers. Golden within her body, her hands and face, cool to the touch, give light in the shadowed place that she will not see. It tinges the king's lined cheek as he bends above her, retracing the unique, perishing beauty in fear and tenderness. And later, Subhoja, who will watch and confess that he cannot and will not act, that a change occurs, which may not be hindered. The light grows, the pulse falters, the breath hovers, the jeweled spider, mind, so careful to anchor her web to the world and bind thing after thing to its sticky rose window feels. The gooey drops slip, and the silk pavilion reels of wall after wall billows away into space. On the winds of impermanent patterns is lost the race. Of change is all, swept on the current the mind. In calm or terror abandons itself to find what longing it can. So while her husband's lips set stonier than ever on hard silence, the queen slips. Mindful, fully aware, her faculties, hardly shaken by the breaking bodies. Spasm at the last thread snaps into heaven of the delighted gods, translated where riven. Hearts hurt by the gap between truth and word are healed the forest gardens steadily watered by songs rained from a matrix of sweet meaning. Which is that world's nature, the dawn cold keening of court ladies prompt in the morning ritual, rises behind the king as he leaves the hall. At first light he sends for Pajapati, the dead queen's sister, who is quick to agree. Happy though weeping that now the prince is her care, the Brahmins depart, having no more business there. For the time being, by the palace gate, Sudatta and the boy Kondanya wait for Suyama to join them. The elders speak of the deathbed and of the newborn, though of what is said, nothing survives to the after times but a word. Suyama speaks at parting, overheard, remembered, pondered, taken to heart by the boy. She looked, he says, as if she had died of joy. But anxious cares preoccupy the king. The hours of needed rest to his bed bring only a savage wakefulness, the taut neck hard against the indifferent pillow's cot. In a closed circle, thought fingers to turn, its troubles a string of iron beads that burn. With restlessness and loss, no second heir will his beloved queen and consort bear. No other wife will comfort or delight as she did, that moon gone, a shapeless night. Descends with sour wonder, he views his flesh and sees death there, how time and age will thresh the last of youth and vigor from his skin, and leave a white-haired husk sealed up within. The breathing beauty of Siddhartha lies, all his life's treasure. The king's lidless eyes with double vision stare at his son's fate, either the warrior king of one vast state, sheer to the earth's edge throned in this very house, gables of hammered gold panels lustrous, with sheets of pearl, his every utterance law, godlike in generosity and war, a fist of lightning, or starved and in scraps of some coarse cloth, picked at random, perhaps, from the rubbish heap or cemetery, profound in learning, yes, but thrust to the background of history on obscure paths where the so-called wise tease out their hearts on useless mysteries, teaching some yogic system but ignored by practical men, some training whose reward might be a heavenly birth after long pain, hideous waste for one who could attain deification here and among men, if he would grasp the scepter, action then. Firm and decisive, while the future still hovers unsettled, but the uncertain will, baffled the king, rolls over on the bed, fists clenched at the hard obsessions of the head, angular in his pillow, the bare wall. Meets his gaze either way, then, after all, the whole thing may be fantasy, and force may not be wise. What is the natural course? For a son, for a young prince to enjoy, great princes' pleasures have that have what every boy desires, weapons and horses, and the chance to learn the play of combat, to watch girls dance, and feast, taste courtesy and power, and then marry, be king, and shape the world of men as a great emperor. What more natural? What thorns are in this couch to stab at all? Postures of comfort, the deep-eyed sages say, that fear of death is what drives men away. In solitude to seek the deathless well, why mention death? Let it be death to tell. The prince of death, or sickness, or old age, things that infect the gifted mind with rage. To escape what's natural, let him live in bliss. Let him have palaces that outshine this. As a pearl does a pebble, wrap him round with music, beauty, gardens, let no sound come there but laughter, nightingales, the flute. Let young and lovely voices drown the brute, mutter of suffering from the world beyond. Later he'll listen. First, let him grow fond of living in the heaven of great kings. While still a boy, will he renounce such things? Never. Sudodana breeze more easily plans. For halls, lakes, gardens multiply, he scans the pastel fields of vision, world within world. Small realms of lovely detail are unfurled, jewels inside jewels, plunged in their radiant deeps, dreaming a beautiful prison. The king sleeps.